Hello, everyone. I am thirteene, and we're actually going to mix it up a little bit. So, I've been playing a lot of janky decks in Modern, but pretty much everything has been in Modern. And it sounds like Brad actually would like to record Death and Taxes in Modern tonight. So, I figured I'd give a little variety, shake it up a little bit, and go ahead and play a little Pauper today. So, he hasn't started yet, but I just posted the link for Brad. He should be playing Death and Taxes. So if he goes live and you want to check out Modern, that should be where you head over to. As for us, though, we are going to be playing one of the first decks I actually tried to build in paper. I was like 12 years old. Type 1, Type 2 had just kind of become a thing, and I didn't really have money for duels, so I was looking at running the old Elves list that was basically just trying to survive off of Well-Wisher while other people were doing unfair things like Illusions of Grandeur and all of that. And yeah, so this deck is actually a lot of fun. I always have respect for Elves. It's a go wide deck, it's a combo deck, it can grind, it does a lot of efficient things, especially in Legacy. As far as us tonight, though, so we're going to be playing a lot of Elves. What does Elves mean? It means cheap, efficient creatures that typically give you mana. So, of note, we're running 9 different versions of Llanowar Elves, Elvish Mystic, Fyndhorn Elves, and then we have Birchlore Rangers. So, this one isn't nearly as mana efficient, but it does give us the ability to get multiple colors. We can actually even, we're splashing on our sideboard a white-black card, despite the fact we have no sources for it, because this card can just generate the mana. And the important thing about this is it also taps 2 untapped elves you control as an activated ability, not a tap ability. So this can come in and tap for mana the turn it comes in, and also give your other elves the ability to tap for mana. Then our payoffs here, we're going to end up having Timberwatch Elf. This is basically our create your own Crater Hoof. Target creature gets +X until end of turn, where that's the number of elves on the battlefield. So we only get to grow one thing, but we're going to have a ton of elves. We're going to swing in with a lot of them. One of them is going to be massive and lethal. Then Lissalana is actually one of the modern cards. I don't think they actually run very many of her in modern, but whenever you cast an elf spell, you get to create a 1/1 elf creature. So whenever we're putting out these dorks, we're getting 2 bodies, just a lot of value to be had there. And then lastly, we have Elvish Vanguard. Once rare, now common. It's 2 mana for a 1/1. Whenever another elf enters the battlefield, it grows. So we can put in an Elvish Mystic, get a copy with Lissalana. Elvish Vanguard gets 2 1/1 counters. Then we have a bunch of go-wide creatures that we get to attack in with. And then the thing that makes this a combo deck is we have the ability to draw some more cards off of Lead the Stampede, look at the top 5, reveal any creatures that go into hand. This is potentially 3 mana, draw 5 if we don't see a lot of lands or non-creatures. So if we go back to the deck view, we end up running 13 lands and I believe 9 non-creature spells. So it's going to be at least draw 3 more often than not. And then last but not least, we have Distant Melody. So choose a creature type, obviously going to be elves in our elf deck. Draw a card for each permanent you control of that type. So while we're going wide, while we're making all these creatures, we can eventually Distant Melody off of our 1 blue source, off of our 1 land aura, or off of our Birchlore Rangers here, and hopefully just draw like 20 cards. All of our elves are tapping for mana. We're just going to empty our hand, draw into another one, play out our deck, and then swing in with a massive elf. So I haven't actually played Pauper since 2015. I am running a list kind of generated off of MTG Goldfish's stock list. I'm not super up to date with the metagame, but I intend to have some fun here, and we got paired up for our first match. So typically, I really like being able to see a Distant Melody. We do have the ability to pay for it if we draw into it. Overall, this hand isn't stellar, but I'm good to hang on to it. Again, I haven't played this in a very long time. This is probably a mulligan, but we're playing against Tron. Alright, well, looks like our opponent is having kind of a strong start. That is a fantastic payoff for us right there. And go ahead and get our ramp on. So choosing Llanowar Elves here because this will actually tap next turn. Birchlore Rangers can come in with Elvish Vanguard and tap for more mana. Next turn we're going to end up having Elvish Vanguard as well as 2 more elves, so this will come in as a 4/4 and we can start pressuring our opponent. Ooh, and there's another source of blue. So first things first, let's go ahead and get out our Vanguard. Tap for green, cast our Birchlore Rangers, grow the Vanguard. We're going to tap 2 elves, create green, tapping these 2 guys. Another Birchlore. Vanguard grows again, and we'll ship it back, and we're ready to start getting our beats on. There could have been an argument there to list Alana before this last Birchlore Ranger, but really just hoping to draw into a Distant Melody. Opponents getting their mana on, getting their cantrips on. Oh, and lead the Stampede. You beautiful, beautiful card, you. Alright, so 4 mana. Lissalana feels pretty strong here. The 1 damage doesn't really mean a lot yet, so I'm just going to try to get another Llanowar Elves or type effect. Alright, well there's all of our card draw, so let's get some damage in while we can. And I don't believe... One of the things about Pauper is they don't have a lot of board clears, Wrath of God, Damnation. All of those are printed basically rare level. So we might be staring down a pretty big creature here, but I don't think that they actually have a board clear. Whenever an artifact is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, you may gain 5 life. Yep, so just generic 5/5 creature. Nothing I'm overly concerned with. They're going to start gaining a lot of life off their cantrips, though. And then is Cyclonic Rift actually common? I should probably look up what my opponent's doing. Alright, well, any elf we cast here is going to represent 1 mana. So I'm good to lead on that. It's essentially free. And then I think I'm just going for Distant Melody here. Draw a crap ton of cards. And this Priest of Titania represents a lot of mana, tapping for green for every elf on the battlefield. I can't get in with anything else, so I have 4 mana. It's probably not enough. Sylvan Ranger will get us our land for turn, though, so that actually seems alright. I don't like not being able to get in this turn, but our opponent's going to be gaining a lot of mana. Our best ability is going to be go wide here. So Sylvan Ranger creates a... Yeah, so this should give us enough mana to Priest of Titania as well. And then I don't believe that they run anything here, but I'm going to go ahead and grab our island. Just because it's a one-of. It's better to get that out just in case they do actually have something we care about here. And I'm good to just start comboing super hard. Then we have 1 mana, but nothing to do with it. This elf's probably going to be chump blocking. In the meantime, I do think it's actually correct to go take a look at MTG Goldfish. His opponent's got a lot of mana, but I don't think they do anything we care about. There's Rainbowtron. I guess that's technically what we're playing against. It's mostly blue. So they have Moment's Peace to Fog. Mystical Teachings. I don't think there's anything we actually care about. They can bounce Vanguard. They're doing a lot with red mana, though. Even if they clear our board, we have a lot that we can just run back out, though. Distant Melody is going to draw us another good chunk of cards. Alright, so they get to deal 6 damage as they choose, so they do take out a lot of our problem permanents, but we're still very far ahead. And this Timber Watch is going to make every single token pretty bad for them. Alright, so it's about time we start running it back. Priest of Titania. Oh, they took out our mana source. Okay. Well, we're probably just going to run out Timber Watch then, which means we need to just attack in first. They are pretty much on chump block duty. If they have a couple of stars, they might just let it through. Alright, that's fine. Then we have not enough mana. So we can't do Elvish Vanguard and the Timber Watch. So Timber Watch it is. And it's on opponent to have another Rolling Thunder. Yep. Evoking Mole Drifter, just trying to draw some cards. So they can filter into double red with 5/7 mana. So they can spread 7 damages they want. Timber Watch can go down. Oh, nope, they're going deep and they no longer have double red. So it's looking pretty good. We currently have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 creatures, which means any creature is lethal off the Timber Watch. As well as having potential draw 10 here and draw 9 here. Oh yeah, they're dead. Alright, well, I don't even see much point stalling, so let's just put an end to it. Yep. That's game. So regenerate each creature you control feels like it gains some value. Scattershot Archers in here for Delver. Viridian Longbow also for Delver. Just things that hit flyers. A lot of these decks end up running, I believe it's called Electrickery. Deal 1 damage to target creature you don't control. Overload is 1 damage to each creature. Most of our creatures are X1s, which means that we have to bring in our Spider Silk Armors. So we're already running one of these main board, and it is a very important card for this strategy. Creatures you control have +0/+1 in reach. Creatures of Flying is definitely a theme here. Delver is a very popular deck, and I believe Lingering Souls is also part of the meta. At least it used to be. Our opponent didn't show us anything that cares about Graveyard, so Relic doesn't really need to be in there. Hydroblast, if they really are on Rolling Thunder and Electrickery, could potentially be interesting. I don't believe that they're actually on the... Okay, here's Artifactron. That might be it. Okay, yeah, so this is their deck list. Multiple Mole Drifters, the Marauder that gains them life. Crusher is going to be a problem. Then they have a couple of Firebolts, Rolling Thunders, the Pulse of Marasa, a ton of artifacts, and a couple of Exile Target permanents. So they do have 3 Electrickeries in the sideboard, so that's a good call there. Circle of Protection green is going to make it so that we can't deal any damage, so we probably need to bring in our artifact removal for that. Leave no trace, destroy target enchantment, and each other enchantment that shares a color with it. That's fun. Standard Bearer is there for Inside Out. So I think that means I actually need to bring in these Gleeful Sabotages. Destroy target artifact or enchantment conspire to get rid of the Circle of Protection. As far as cuts, Probably just going to shave a couple of mana dorks. We have to leave the... I'm sure that there's a combo piece for that. Oh yeah, that's for Well-Wisher and Priest. Probably trim to lead the Stampede. Lissalana. Sylvan Rangers get our Forest. And we're running really low on time. This can't be correct, but I would just want it all. Got a little delay trying to figure out what we were playing against. So, no blue mana, but we have a couple of dorks. I'm good to keep this. I'm kind of just expecting them to dirtle a little bit. Plus, if we ever see an island, we're very far ahead. So they kept a 6-lander, or 6 card, and put a card on top. And they just floated mana and let it die. Okay, so what's the math here to get Lissalana? Next turn is going to be Pauper Elves and Forest, and then I have enough for her, or next turn is attack with Nettle Sentinel, double mana dork. So I'm going to try to hit for 2 here. I don't think the life total is going to be that relevant, especially if they start gaining 5 life for every cantrip. Alright, so they're just looking for Tron. I'd love to see blue mana. Absolutely love it. I'd love to be able to hold up Hydroblast to make sure we don't get Electrickered. It feels so counterproductive, but I might be on Vanguard. I think I'm on Creature Beats this game. I just don't have as much mana as I had last game, so this just feels like what I have to do. So Lissalana won't be coming down yet, but we're still going to be able to grow this Vanguard out of range of a lot of things our opponent would be doing. Return a card at random from your graveyard to your hand. Interesting. This is where not knowing the Pauper meta is kind of hard. So Firebolt on Vanguard. Wow, blowing the Electrickery already. Alright, well that feels like the right call then. Although we are falling very far behind. If they have another one, which if they're blowing their first one that quickly, then we're probably just going to lose here, but have to be able to get up to Lissalana. Otherwise, we just don't have anything going on. Yep, so they're filtering into red. Which means overloaded Electrickery. It's going to deal 1 damage to every creature. Both our mana dorks are going down. Oh, just a Firebolt? That's not nearly as bad. I don't know why opponent wants to continue tapping out every turn, but I'm not complaining. If they did board in as much stuff for the sideboard as I thought they did, we're probably going to be able to get it with these janky beats. Currently, Nettle Sentinel is going to be getting in for 5. I believe they can flash this back, though. 3. Guess not. They're stuck on 3 mana. Yeah, I don't know what opponent's doing. Alright, now Sentinel can get in. Let's grow him a bit. And I'd love to see some blue mana. I probably need another island if I'm going to have this many blue cards. Evoking Mold Drifter, they're just trying to find their land drops. And it was probably not correct to not attack with the Mystic there. I don't really have anything to represent for 3 mana in green. Alright, so definitely unlead the Stampede. Let's go and tap Null Sentinel. And there is some mana dorks that I would absolutely love to see. Sylvan Ranger's eventually going to get us our blue source. But if our opponent doesn't have anything else going on, we're going to be able to kill them here. Or they have a giant Rolling Thunder incoming. Maybe the Crusher? Nope, Rolling Thunder. So 5 and then 3 to us. Probably 4 if they end up tapping this as well. Either that or flashback Firebolt and do something shenanigan-y. Yep. Can this target us? Yes, it can. Alright, so Sylvan Ranger's coming out first because I want to get the island for Hydroblast. I don't want to put this many creatures out. They could potentially have another Electrickery and just wipe our board. Yep, there's the Crusher. And that Annihilator 2 is going to be annoying. But for now, it's only going to grab our Ranger and a land. Which means we're still kind of in this. Just hope they don't have another Rolling Thunder, or it's going to get really awkward really quickly. Goodbye, you two. We'll take our beats for 8. Do they have the Rolling Thunder for 9? Opponent's doing some big things. They're tapping for blue. So another Mole Drifter. And just over tapping. Yep, there's the Mole Drifter. They needed that for a chump blocker. And filter into white. Journey to Nowhere. Alright, that's going to take Lissalana, and I believe that's game. Yep, so I would be on the table for 10, have 2 creatures. So this would actually give me 4 mana, 5 mana. Nothing can win the game from here, though. We just need to get a little bit of a faster start. We stumbled too hard. Alright, so as far as sideboarding, let's try to fix what we messed up last game. Definitely need all the mana dorks. I really underestimated how badly we'd get hit there. I'm guessing the Null Sentinels come out first. They're really good for chaining together with the Birchslore Rangers, but we don't really have any way to take advantage of that with Heritage Druid or anything in Pauper. Then Lissalana is pretty good, but it is expensive. They definitely showed us the Electrickery, so we need the Spider Silk Armors. This can snag Journey to Nowhere. This can get pretty big, but I have the feeling it's just better to have the Timber Watch. Our opponent did actually have to respect that, though. If they didn't Electrickery that, we probably would have been able to win off the Vanguard. Well-Wisher feels like it doesn't do as much. They're just trying to clear our board, and we don't really need to gain life. The Crusher is in a good enough win condition. That actually feels better. That feels like we sideboarded correctly that time. Alright, and we'll take the play, and we need mana. So, if we scry into a land, this is fantastic. Basically, if the Spider Silk Armor comes down, they have to use Firebolt or double Electrickeries to kill our creatures. Yeah, Priest is highest upside. Hopefully they're not on removal. Alright, going for a land means we have a real shot here. So we're going to be able to Elvish Mystic, get 3 mana Spider Silk, and still have 2 mana left over. So everything we play here is free because of the Priest. So let's go ahead and do this, get 4 mana, Spider Silk. Ah, that can get in. We're only Spider Silking. Oh, I am so bad at this game. Well, that's fine. We'll see what opponent's got. Next turn we can list Alana and then Birchler, which actually might even be the correct line. So opponent went got Tower but didn't play it. So they got the Crusher, so that's coming out soon. Alright, so Priest is 3 mana, that's going to be 4. Yep, and this is best sequencing we can get. So Birchlore, always yes, always yield. Then we have 2 more mana, which isn't enough to do anything. So Elvish Mystic gets in for single beads. And then Distant Melody is going to draw 6 cards next turn unless we draw another creature. Yep, there's 8 for the Crusher. That's all they do next turn. It's probably not going to be enough. Alright, so Forest. I want to save Priest until we potentially have more creatures. So we're going to go blue by tapping these 2 guys. 1, 2, 3. Distant Melody, draw equal to Elves. That's a lot of Elves. Free Elf. Then we're going to tap these guys for green. Free Elf. Tap these guys for green. Free Elf. Then float a lot of green. We're going to tap these 2 guys for blue. Distant Melody, draw a lot of Elves. I love this deck. Timberwatch. Timberwatch. Free Elf. Free Elf. Free Elf. Then let's go ahead and return a Forest. We're going to tap Priest of Titania. Yep, alright, and opponent sees the writing on the wall. So what we get to do here is we actually get to return a forest we control to untap target creature. That's going to tap Priest of Titania. Priest of Titania is going to tap for approximately 20 to 30 mana here. Then we can tap for blue and draw again approximately 20 to 30 cards. And our opponent has an Ulamog Crusher, which they assembled Tron and were able to put out a threat on turn 4. But we did elf things, and elf things are fun. Alright, so I didn't update the record there. We went 2-1 against Tron. Which, yay, but elves do elf things. Currently up by a match. And I really like this deck. It just does so much, and we start drawing so many cards. Like, our opponent was cantripping, and they were playing Eldrazi, but we just drew enough that an 8/8 literally wouldn't have been able to get in. We had another Spider Silk there, and then we could have dropped an additional one. Like, we could have killed their Eldrazi with them only getting one of our creatures out of the way, and that's a single token. So, Circle of Protection Green is some interesting tech. Our opponent never actually showed it to us, and we never saw our Destroy Target enchantment. But Circle of Protection actually would have made it so that we wouldn't have been able to attack in. If we go back to our opponent's deck list here, pay 1 mana, prevent all damage against you by a green source. Like, we eventually would have just gone wide enough that it didn't do enough, but I imagine this has to be in here for elves. You have 3 of these Haunted Fingraphs. I guess that makes sense in case they have to go for the reach kill. Oh well. Alright, we will definitely take the play. And lots and lots of mana. No payoff yet, but we have blue mana. We have multiple mana dorks. Seeing as we don't have a second land, I can't lead on Nettle Sentinel here. We actually have to get a Llanowar Elf. And looks like we actually might be seeing Delver. Could always be Inside Out or something along those lines, but... So if they have daze, I want to actually run this out in a way that I don't mind if they daze me. That seems fine. Both of these two have a lot of value. Like, everything in my hand currently has a lot of value. Alright, well... Again, this is where not exactly knowing the metagame is going to hurt. So, first things first, let's get in with Nettle Sentinel. That's free damage. Because then Birchlore comes down, and we can tap both of these two guys. Always yes, always yield. We want green. It's going to be Quirion Ranger. Green. Then float a green, return, untap that guy, return a forest. Play my forest for turn. It's 4 mana for Lissalana. I probably should have done that in a different order. I think I missed out on a mana there. But then create green, green, Priest of Titania, always yes, always yield, and we have successfully emptied our hand. Could have probably gotten more tokens if I actually would have led on this. I forgot that net's a mana, and opponent knows that there's not much else going on there. So, Simic Growth Chamber. Looks like it's an infinite mana combo deck. Fertile Ground, Snap, Capsize, Cloud of Fairies, Mnemonic Wall, Mole Drifter. Okay, so they're basically trying to get a ton of mana. So what does that mean for us? Probably means Relic's a consideration. The problem with buyback is it never actually hits the graveyard, so Relic's not going to do anything. I think we just need to take our linear game plan and try to make sure it works. This might be where Harsh Subsistence actually is pretty good, because if they just start to combo off, we can finish them off, but that's going to require multiple elves and Birchlore Rangers. Gleeful Sabotage will actually take whatever mana they attach to a land, so that's probably a good consideration, and that means Well-Wisher comes out. If there's some type of weird Delver strategy, though, that means that they don't have days. Yeah, they can't be Delver. So I think this is going to take their land auras, and that's the best we can do. And it sounds like they're not attacking our health total, so Well-Wisher comes out. Sylvan Ranger gets us blue. Lead the Stampede's going to draw a lot of extra cards. We can do better, but we have plays. Turn 4, we're going to explode. This is probably a mulligan. Our best hands are the ones that actually start off with Elvish Mystics, which is why we have 9 of them in the deck. But we have so many fresh draws here. I think that this is worth trying. We still don't even know what our opponent's doing exactly. And we'll see how this goes. Alright, so they are Soul-Tie bounce lands. Vanguard actually feels like a stronger play than Ranger, seeing as we don't have any blue cards in hand. And no 1-drop means Birchlore Ranger can get in. There's no reason to tap these two guys to create a mana. We could have had a much faster start. Well, they have their colors. Let's see what this was ramping up to. Apparently to hold counter magic up. That's sad. Oh well. No other plays this turn, so just getting in for 2. And then next turn, Sylvan Ranger into our land drop. Yep, so this is the Growth Spiral infinite mana combo then. Which means we need to have a really big turn next turn. Sylvan Ranger, grab our land drop. We'll have 3 mana for Timber Watch. All right. I actually really want to keep the Vanguard here. Geez, I actually want to keep both creatures. Now the creatures can go away. We have a lot of redraws. We are a little bit on the slow side, though. This fade away is actually quite painful. Alright, so they haven't made their land drop yet for turn, which means we might have an Evolving Wilds in our future. Nope. So, weak Brainstorm, they don't get a shuffle. Alright, so Sylvan Ranger into Llanowar. Sylvan Ranger into Sylvan Ranger. And then I can sack them both if they fade away again. This was a very slow, awkward hand. Well, I'm going to go get my blue mana and my land drop for next turn, and then I won't have very much of my deck that's not a creature. And we can see what we're doing. Because, like, Lissalana Llanowar next turn's not very good, and that's probably the best that we've got. And then Fadeaway is just going to make us sack all of our creatures. Timberwatch could be pretty decent. Just make it so that if we do go wide on a turn, we can actually invest pretty hard in it. Priest of Titania. I actually really, really like Priest of Titania. So, make the land drop. We're going to Priest of Titania, see if they have a counterspell. They at least didn't want to show it. And then Llanowar. And if they fade away again, we're keeping our mana dorks. Otherwise, we'll get a Timberwatch out and get ready to go super wide. Alright. Well, luckily for us, these board clears aren't actually doing too much. Alright, so sequencing here, I'm going to run out these two because I can actually pay to keep both of them alive. They're going to have another Invenkar's Justice in order to clear these two away. And then the turn that I do explode, I'll be able to start hitting pretty hard with the Timberwatch. But opponent has 6 cards in hand, and they've been cantripping, sculpting. It's a little hard to imagine they don't have something going on here. Alright, there's the wall to pick up the Justice. This is feeling like a really rough matchup. Oh, they're going for Fadeaway? Please cast that. Guess not this turn. Alright, so Lissalana will give me 2 mana. I won't be able to get in off of that. Lead the Stampede will still let me pay for everything and potentially get another mana dork. That feels the best. Wow. Alright, deck's been a little rough today. And if they attack in, I can block and kill the Seagate Oracle, but I'm not getting past this wall. evoked Mold Drifter, so they're going pretty deep. It's weird, but I actually do think I want another land. Yep, and this is where they start to go infinite. Okay, so Ghostly Flicker, they pick up Ghostly Flicker. So they don't have the mana for it yet, but we are going to start drowning in card advantage. There's Coiling Oracle, even more advantage. And a Pauper Elves would be nice. Some 1-manas. So I can start chaining together and actually be able to afford to keep some of them. Well, that is a 1-mana. Alright, so Lissalana. Make a green. Quirion Ranger. Always yes, always yield. Unfortunately, I think we've lost this one. We do have a little bit of gas here, but it's not going to be enough to actually get something done. So I have to do this now. We'll untap the Birch Lord, return a forest. Then we have 4 mana up to keep 4 creatures, which will probably be our 4 primary ones. I can actually get an untap with Quirion Ranger on their turn. So I think this means I'm getting in to see if they're going to trade out their wall. Nope, but getting rid of Coiling Oracle is basically like getting rid of a draw spell. Oh, that actually doesn't work that way, because I had to tap 2 creatures in order to do that. For some reason I was thinking that was Nettle Sentinel. Well, that's fine. They're going to tap 5 mana to make a sack our Elf Warrior and probably the... Yep, so... Untap Lissalana, because it can block best. Return a forest. Then we can save 3 creatures. And I think I have to actually float the mana here, so... So that's 3. We'll sacrifice 2 permanents. It's probably just going to be the elf token and I think just a forest. They didn't buy that back, which means they have another... They picked up the flicker, so I know they have a ghostly flicker. Oh, they did have another one. Alright. Well, they didn't buy that one back either, but they can always flicker the wall, so still not great. And I'm not trading Lissalana for a Seagate Oracle. Well, let's put some elves out. So I'm back to being able to save 2 creatures. Wow, that's painful. Alright, and Lissalana can't even get in this turn. So they have to Ghostly Flicker, then they're probably going to pick this up and deal 2 damage to everything again. Yep, there's the Ghostly Flicker. I don't even think I have anything in my sideboard that can handle this. If I get 2 Spider Silks out, all of my creatures will live. Relic was definitely supposed to come in. And destroy target artifact or enchantment's not going to do anything here. Sorry about that, hit my microphone. So they deal 2 damage to everything. I can run out another Lissalana, but I can't pay for anything. And they bought it back this time. So all that goes away. Abundant Growth, redraw. And there's a sideboard tech that we probably shouldn't have put into our deck. Pauper Elves will just give us a little bit of reach, but they're going to have to cast this. We're behind. If we see a distant melody, we actually might have a decent shot here. Oh, well, that just put us back in the lead. They brought in Nature's Claim for Spider Reach, though. That's interesting. I mean, I guess it does actually save our Timber Watch, and that's probably going to be our best win condition here. Oh, they use their Ghostly Flicker, so they need to find another one. Okay, we're maybe not as far behind as I thought we were. Still like another mana before I commit to another Lissalana, but I think I just have to start getting in. Now, I know that they have the Justice in hand, but they don't have the Fade Away in hand. I think we just need to commit and then start conceding if they end up having a way to deal with the Lissalanas together. There's a Growth Spiral. Our opponent's been playing higher quality cards, but they don't feel like they've been making an advantage here. They've even rebought a ton of them, and they're only 4 cards deeper than we are. And they've seen multiple more land drops. So Growth Spiral goes to hand, that's another redraw. Pulls to pick up Mold Drifter, seems fair. This game's taking forever, but we are up a match. Actually hard casting the Mold Drifter. Alright. Let's take a quick look before I lead the Stampede. So, Well Wisher would be hilarious. Nothing that actually helps our current strategy though, so I think I just... So we know opponent has one of these in hand to deal 2 damage to everything. So Lead the Stampede is not even really a fresh draw. If we attack in with both Lysalanas, they're going to double block 1 to kill it. But that might just be where we're at right now. Mnemonic Wall is going to block 1, and then probably these 2. It might be these 3. Yeah, these 3 makes more sense. Or they don't care? Alright, well, we had the Stampede. Let's refill our hand. Ooh, 4 hits. I would have loved that Distant Melody, but that's fine. Then we know the opponent has the board clear in hand. If I lead out the Birchlore Rangers, tap... Oh, I have all my mana here. Okay, so I think that this works. Because Lyssalana is going to net us a mana every creature that we cast. So I'd love to always yield. And always yes. Then these guys come in. We're going to get a green off of these 2. Elvish Vanguard. Get a green. Nettle Sentinel. And we basically just want to get Elvish Vanguard big enough that he can survive 2 of these Justices. Which probably means emptying my hand, but I'm alright with that. I'd actually prefer that Priest of Titania survive. Alright, now we have a big Vanguard. We actually have a win condition. And we're putting on an opponent to have an answer for 7/7 as well as the Lysalanas that are just going to continue to grow it. Yep, that's fine. And Fade Away is going to answer the most creatures here, but we're going to be able to keep a lot of them. I'm just concerned about the Elvish Vanguard and the 2 Lysalanas, though. Cast with Buyback. Alright, so opponent's baiting to see if I'm going to float the mana. They did it in their second main phase, which feels like bad sequencing, but I am assuming I might be missing something here. Because if they would have cast this in their first main phase, then went to combat, they could follow it up with the sacrifice later. Yeah, I have to float it here. They're all going to die. A lot of dead elves. Now, if they want to try to get rid of these 3 creatures, they can't because we floated the mana. Fortunately, with the ghostly flicker on mnemonic wall, we're never going to be able to. Alright, so this is going to start netting them additional card too. But we're never going to be able to make contact with this Vanguard. But may as well put the beats in. Yep, then ghostly flicker, 4 targets. Picking up ghostly flicker, probably growth spiral. Oh, they're just going to let the Seagate Oracles die. They might be a little concerned about milling at this point. But we're really putting on an opponent that they have to actually end the game. They're going to be on the back foot for quite a while now. If they try to do anything, we're going to be surviving through most of it and be the aggressor. I'm curious what their win condition is. Yeah, I don't see any of the flickered decks. Yep, kill off all the creatures, don't really care. Oh, then if they flicker now and pick this back up and cast it again, we're kind of screwed. But they're still going to have to figure out how to close out the game. I don't think they're going to be able to. There might have been an argument just to pay 1 for Vanguard or 2 for Vanguard and Lissalana. Okay, well that feels like a misplay on their part. Now they're letting 3 damage in too. Oh, they just let it go. They might have given up hope here. Or they're just trying to gain life. Did they misplay? I thought they always had 2 ghostly flickers. Yeah, they're looking for Brainstorm. So they must think that they have another win condition here. So it looks like older lists actually run Condescend. This looks like a new variant with Growth Spiral. But I'm seeing a lot of the same cards. I'm not sure what opponent thinks their endgame is. Even if they win this one, they're going to have to win the last one with 9 minutes on clock. The only reason this one even went this long was because they conceded in like the first 10 seconds. Okay, that's weird. Opponent had a lot of time there for a moment. Discarding a hand size. Discarded the fadeaway. Alright, I am okay with an Elvish Mystic, because that's going to make my Vanguard huge. And I can still pay 3. Opponent's going to have a Ghostly Flicker lined up. Start drawing cards again, pick up stuff out of their graveyard. It's like they can get Pulse of Marasa, pick up Coiling Oracle, and see more of their deck, but they're pretty far behind at the current moment. I guess 5 turns of casting Ivankar's Justice will kill us, but they won't be able to do that for 2 games in a row. Let's see, so this costs 7 mana. They're currently at 4, 10, 16. So they can cast it twice, so they need 4 turns, but instead they're Muldriftering. Yeah, I mean, feel free to keep drawing. I haven't seen anything I particularly care about, and this is the only card that's been any kind of a problem for me. Guess they can get some flying beats in. That might be a reason to have the air gun or the longbow. This might actually be the matchup that I do want the Harsh Substance for, because this seems just long and drawn out. Alright, another land is mildly interesting. I don't expect the creature to live, so I just want my lands there. We know they're going to flicker anyway, so... Yep. So looking at 4 in the air, a buyback of Ivankar's Justice, and a recast. So we're dead this turn, but... I mean, opponent really needs to figure out what to do about their clock. Because there's no way that they're going to be able to close out Game 3 in time. So they've shown us 2 Nature's Claims on the top 75% of their deck. I'm guessing it's not worth hanging on to the Spider Silk. I'd need to have multiple of them be in the battlefield in order to survive that anyway. I'd love something along the lines of like a Meddling Mage, though. If they cast this pre-combat and kill their Muldrifters. Okay, yeah. They were about to. They didn't even buy it back. Alright. I mean, we're dead here. I'm just going to make Vanguard pretty big. Alright, Vanguard. Kind of wish I had a bounce spell for their Mnemonic Wall. Oh well, put it on them to kill us. They did pick up the other Justice, which means it's in hand, which means they can untap and just cast it. Or they flicker here and pick up this one. but they've spent 20 minutes in one game essentially. That was because we kept a very, very slow hand. And there it is. All right. Game 3. Harsh Substance. X damage to any target and you gain X life, or that's the number of creatures you control. Feels fantastic. Spider Silk Armor can come out. Well-Wisher is probably consideration. I don't think I want all 3 because it does die to almost all of their removal, but if we can gain 20 life, they just won't end the game. I don't know. We only have to stall 5 minutes. That might be a consideration. Scattershot will deal 1 damage to each creature with flying. Relic is definitely in. 100% definitely in. Longbow deals 1 damage to any target. You can pay 3 to move it to another target. Shoot something for 2. Muldrifter would go away. Lethal Sabotage is definitely coming out. Lissalana survives their board clear, so she definitely stays in. Timberwatch cares about critical mass, so I'm okay to trim there. The only thing is, do I want the longbow or the archer? Archer is a 1-2, and it hits everything with flying. Maybe if I was keeping the spider silks in and it would survive, that might be an argument, but I think for right now, I just want to, like, it's not good to win on clock, but opponent's deck isn't doing anything, so they should know that's a consideration. And this hand is significantly faster, so I'm good to give this one a shot. Alright, so Birch Spore comes down first because it means that I can put in Quirion Ranger or Nettle Sentinel with the Elvish Vanguard on turn 2. If our opponent has a fast Justice or whatever that card was called, this could potentially be a problem, but this Vanguard's hopefully going to grow fast enough that I'll at least have a valid threat while they have to try to set up Flicker. Quirion Ranger, untap Birchlore, return a Forest, drop Nettle Sentinel. Yeah, I think this works. I think Vanguard's going to become a 3. So return a Forest, untap this guy. Turn the Forest. Green. For Nettle Sentinel. And now Vanguard's already a threat, and opponent has 1 land. And they probably have a tap land, bounce land to follow it up. Coiling Oracle is fine. Ooh, and a very lovely Distant Melody. So I could actually Distant Melody and draw a ton of cards here, but we are definitely the aggro deck. So I'm just going to get in first. Yep, they have to chump the Vanguard. Abundant Growth, our other land. Mainly to untap Nettle Sentinel. And Birchlore, because why not? Next turn's Distant Melody is going to be fantastic. And opponent doesn't even have a single black. If they do make us sack things, we still are going to keep our Vanguard. Alright, so then we're tapping these 2. Nope. Cancel. We want blue. We're going to draw a ton of cards. And did I play a land this turn? Yes, I did. So I can tap these 2, play a Mystic, untap Nettle Sentinel, deal as much damage, so it's free. Here's our Mystic. And I'm actually a little concerned that they have the make you sacrifice thing, so I'm only going to get in with the Vanguard. I'll use these two to tap to keep the Vanguard. His opponent won't be able to do anything about that. So Growth Spiral, perfectly fine. So opponent did find a black, but they basically have 2 turns to kill this Vanguard. Yeah, that's fine. I don't care. Yep, so high level read there. Knew that was coming. We'll float a green. We're going to pay 1. Then have to sacrifice 5 permanents. This is better than a land, so 1 land there. I need to keep a Birchler for blue. Quirion Ranger doesn't do anything. Only need 1 Birchlore. I guess that's another forest then. And I want to keep at least 1 land here. So I guess it's the Mystic. Because if they have the Justice, they can kill the Mystic anyway. So the land has a little bit longer term use. Alright, so Forest. Pauper Elves, just untap the Nettle Sentinel. And again, keeping these 2 back for the exact same reason as last time. I mean, opponent's basically dead here, so... I guess the Nettle Sentinel should have gotten in. It doesn't change the math at all. But they'd be at 4 instead, which means an all-out attack would probably be lethal next turn. Alright, so there's 4 mana. That'd be Lissalana. Yeah, I think it's just get in our beats and run out another mana dork. Yep, expected as much. And then Elvish Mystic's going to tap Nettle Sentinel. We'll have 4 creatures to tap. We'll be able to keep 3 things. And if they actually Justice, it's going to lower their life total to 4, which isn't irrelevant. Alright, Wall's picking up Fade Away. Okay, so no point getting in with Nettle Sentinel. So if I do this, I can lead the Stampede, and I'll be able to keep Vanguard and a Mana Dork. Seems fair. Look at all those delicious elves. Then... yeah, if opponent decides they don't want to lose their wall since that's their engine. These elves are going to be equal mana, because we can tap the 2 new ones and keep something here. Then they're going to have to pay a mana to keep their wall. Alright, so definitely Vanguard, probably the Sentinel. It hits the hardest. Whoa. Wait, what? No, I wanted to pay 2 for that. Sacrifice 5 permanents. Okay, so definitely these 3. Wow, that is brutal. That's not how that was supposed to go down at all. Alright, well, thank you, MTGO. Well, Priest of Titania, if they actually fade away again, we'll lose the Vanguard, so we can't do that. It's going to be Quirion Ranger. I can pick up the Forest. The wall goes down, they go to 4. Then Birchler is going to make it so that I can tap these 2 guys. I can pay for 3 creatures? 2 creatures. That's only if they've got it. If they've got the Justice, they're dead on board. Which they don't even have double black for. Okay, so this time we're going to do this correctly. We're going to tap these 2. We're going to return a Forest, untap Nettle Sentinel. There we go. Alright, that was long and drawn out. Opponent probably should have realized that they weren't getting out of that. When you're taking 20 minutes to finish somebody off in game 2 and you're down a game, it's just not going to go well. But up 2 games. Elves really being a powerhouse. I'm not familiar with the meta. I have very minimal experience with Elves, but it's still doing exactly what it's supposed to. Quite a strong deck. Lissalana just lets you go so wide. Timberwatch is create your own Craterhoof and Pauper, which that card doesn't even moderately need to exist in Constructed. It's a fantastic card. I love Craterhoof. It's great. Like, it's a fantastic win condition in EDH. It does fantastic things in Legacy Elves, but having haste and making everything a 20/20 trample is just so busted. Excuse me. Then Distant Melody. It's kind of a reverse Glimpse of Nature. It's just so powerful in what it does. Glimpse of Nature is banned for a reason. It's the main engine in Legacy Elves. We do splash blue only for that. Like, we run a single island. We run 4 of a mana dork that can give us blue. It's just such a powerful card that it makes us another color. But going on to game 3. So we have Mystic, Mana Fixing, Well-Wisher, card draw. I'm good with this. Especially on the play. And per usual, Elvish Mystic actually taps itself for mana, so it needs to come out first. Birchler can come out later. And, alright. Decent start for opponent. Well-Wisher also taps itself. It's coming out next, and I'd really like to be able to get blue off of this. Seeing the Abundant Growth does kind of make me less inclined to lose this Birchlore Ranger, but let's see if they've got another one. Alright. So they're going to be able to start recurring this Fume Spitter and take out all of our 0/1s. So Birchlore is mana neutral. Abundant Growth could potentially draw us a land, but that's mana neutral. I think it'd start on Birchlore, and we can recycle this. There's not really anything that we can do with the mana anyway. Another Distant Melody. Ooh. Things are looking a little rough. But if our opponent's willing to start grinding out, I'm going to save Well-Wisher until it's instant speed. It just feels like best use of our time. We can also figure out what they're targeting first. Yep. Alright, Spore Frog, prevent all damage. I know I've played against this deck, but it's been a very long time. Let's see what they think the problem is. Yep, probably the correct call. Priest of Titania. I'd love a mana dork. If we can get up to this lead, the Stampede will be so well off. Oh, this is Dredge. Yep. 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 Quirion Ranger. So that's going to net us mana if it untaps. But for now, it's still just 2. Alright, so best use of our time here is just hitting our land drop again. We can gain 2 life. Untap Well-Wisher. Play our land, and see if opponent wants to discard another card to remove an elf. So it looks like opponent's actually using this engine to pick up Spore Frog to prevent all combat damage. Grave Robber's going to pick up a creature. Yep. Oh, picking up... No, it is a... No, yeah, they picked up Liliana. Make us discard a card. I guess they get both. Slowly gaining life. Luckily, we are very close to card advantage. There it is. That's the card advantage I want to see. Oh, look at all those delicious elves. Tasty, tasty elves. Stocked hand again. So next turn, Elvish Mystic, Priest of Titania. At least one mana dork's going to stick. Then unless Alana's going to go wide enough, Timberwatch will make us actually start doing damage. They'll have to start using Spore Frog to prevent damage. Yep. So they did actually find their Dredge 5, which is kind of scary. Well, Well-Wisher, you got us 9 life. It's hard to be mad at that. Alright, I think I want to discard Distant Melody. We haven't been able to keep any creatures on the board, so it's seeming less likely that that will do anything. And Liliana feels like the strongest play here, so I'm going to try to go wide. We've bought a little bit of time with Well-Wisher, so it seems like highest upside. Knot of the Bone will gain them a ton of life back. Ooh, boy. Alright, then they can Fume Spitter and kill off Liliana. On the plus side, they've been taking so long trying to stop our strategy, they haven't done anything super productive on their own. They have 2 cards in hand. We've got 5 as well as a card draw engine. Distant Melody, even for 2, is probably worth hanging on to, but it feels like it's so far away. We only run 13 lands. And Gurmag Angler is a pretty big boy right there. Well, there's another land. So we have 5 mana, 2, 5, 1, 4. Well, we know that they're going to dredge Stinkweed, and then they're going to pick up Fume Spitter. So one of these creatures is going to die. It's probably going to be Priest of Titania, but I know this is coming out. It's just too expensive. And then green. Priest can die. And then next turn can actually be Elvish Mystic into Distant Melody, so I think it's Priest here just for mana efficiency. She's not going to live, but... Grows, another Tortured Existence, Vessel. Yep, discard Stinkweed Imp, pick up Fume Spitter kill Priest. Swing in for 9. I'm not doing anything about that. Alright, does land change things? Elvish Mystic. Let's actually tap correctly. Distant Melody for 2. Drawing off of Elves. Nettle Sentinel's alright. It means that they have to Fume Spitter pre-combat. It also means Grave Scrabbler can't get in, although they probably want that to die. Alright, Dredge Stinkweed again. Ooh, they probably really want that Horror. It's a good threat. Wild Mongrel's also pretty good. Although they don't have a ton of cards in hand, they're probably just getting another Fume Spitter. Oh, nope, Grave Scrabbler. Alright, so we are falling very far behind here. Now they get to activate this, pay Madness, pick up. Okay, so we can actually kill their Gurmag Angler here. And they do go after the Horror. Oh, and they are able to pay for the Fume Spitter too. Alright, this is looking pretty lost. I'm going to see if they go for the line. Okay. They should have gone after Elvish Mystic, but that's fine. Whatever. We have relics on the side. Alright, so I don't want our creatures getting killed at the first sign of a Fume Spitter. So Spider Silks are coming in. Harsh Substance feels alright if we can go wide enough. Relic to stop their game plan seems fantastic. As far as cuts, Well-Wisher seems bad. It did gain us some life there, but they ended up going bigger than us. There might be some reason to cut. It's probably just Nettle Sentinels requiring a Birch Lore in order to get any kind of mana out of it. Feels kind of bad. So it's just the 2 Nettle Sentinels and the Well-Wishers for this package. There's something else I brought in. Oh, the relics. Regenerate doesn't do anything against -1/-1 counters. I don't really think it's worth killing a Liliana's Spectre. Could it be worth it to get their Recursion? What would we be cutting? Probably a single Llanowar and a Distant Melody? I could see that. This might be overboarding, but I kind of like everything here. Again, this is the Delver package. I know that for sure. That hasn't changed. These were our cuts, their main board. They do feel like they're not the greatest to our strategy in this matchup. Hydroblast is for the big red damage everything, so Electrickeries. Rapid Vigor's probably for Electrickery. I don't know what else that'd be for. I guess it might have stopped the black deal 2 damage to every creature, but that just seems so loose when they're going to buy it back anyway. And we'll take the play. And this would be so good with a forest. There's nothing here I want. This can stop their engine, but that's about it. Wow. All right. So opponent keeps 6. We have to go to 4. All right, that's good enough. Opponent gets this one just because of 13 lands in the deck. I assume that's going to happen a fair number of times when you're only running 13 lands. I actually thought with Relic that'd be insanely winnable, but the mulligans were just not kind. That also might be a problem with overboarding. We took out a Mana Dork as well as a Nettle Sentinel. We took out like 3 1-drops and 3 2-drops. Getting -1/-1 counters on our creatures was pretty painful, though. Especially repeated. He was doing that every turn, and we got to like turn 12-ish. We put up a fight, and those distant melodies would have been fantastic if we could have had any kind of a creature presence when we got to them. Just felt a little rough. Even if we do start going to combat damage, that's when they start buying back the Spore Frog, and we can never get combat damage in because they just sacrifice it, then pick it back up. Which is why we needed the Harsh Substance, is that we could actually instant speed just ping them if we end up getting 20 creatures by going wide with Lissalana. Pauper Elves, though, it's been a pretty fun deck. It looks like you can buy into it online for $17, and almost all that cost is in the Spider Silk armor. It is very necessary, though. You need it for Electrickery, otherwise you just get wrecked. We just saw the damage that a -1/-1 counter every turn can do. Electrickery pinging your entire board at instant speed is just super painful. Almost the rest of the cost there is actually in the 2 Hydroblasts as well. I believe the Spider Silks are $4 a piece, and there's 3 of them. And the Hydroblasts are $3 a piece or $2 a piece, and there's 2 of them. So that's like $16. Everything else is almost under $1. In paper, though, this deck is a little bit more expensive because a lot of these pieces are older and found in the Legacy Elves list. Alright, so we have Birchlore Ranger, Quirion Ranger. Quirion Ranger is going to net us additional mana off the Birchlore and our land drops. We're on the draw. Sylvan Ranger can get us another land drop. I'm on board. And finally, playing against Delver. Ponder showing its strength at common. Very good card. I also love the Lorwyn art for this. And that's Birchlore. Alright, so opponent definitely has Daze. But I think we just are on Quirion Ranger. If they Daze it, we lose it, but we'll end up having 1 mana next turn anyway. Spellstutter Sprite. Okay, so they're fairies. Fairies goes a little worse for us, especially if they have multiple of these lined up, because then we're not going to resolve anything for a couple of turns with 1 mana. That might have been a reason to lead on Quirion Ranger. Alright, well there's a land. So, they left up mana. I'm definitely playing around Daze here. I don't mind if they counter a second one. And then I'm also quite happy if they do something to the Sylvan Ranger. We've already made our land drop for turn, and yep, there's a Spell Stutter Sprite. Alright, so we have 3 mana for next turn. They look like mono blue fairies. This Evolving Wilds is probably in there for Brainstorm. It might just be mono blue Delver. Yeah, mono blue Delver on Spell Stutter. So they are definitely a Delver list of some kind. Still representing the counterspell. I'm going to try to Priest here. I'm more concerned about Well-Wisher landing because gaining 3 life a turn is going to make it so that their tempo strategy goes out the window. They have to consider countering this, though. We've been stuck on mana for the first part of the game, and this just represents a lot. Yep, there's a Spell Stutter Sprite. Now, unfortunately, Daze gets us, but they haven't shown us Daze, so hopefully this resolves. If not, we'll probably move on to another game. Brainstorm, possibly looking for... No, they're going to Brainstorm anyway. But if they have Daze, they have Daze. And they have red. Okay. So, Firebolt. I'm not really sure what to expect here. The old meta was blue-black fairies. Or blue-black Delver. This might be red. And they're on ninjas. Okay. So it's definitely Delver. And now they have Spell Stutter Sprite for 3. So Spider Silk's not going to resolve. Let's see if we can bait them out with Lead the Stampede and then hopefully start chaining a couple of Elvish Mystics together. Yep. I'm more concerned about Spider Silk resolving. We'll be able to block these and they won't be able to ninja. But we can't do that this turn anyway. We fell a little too far behind because we only had 1 land for the first 3 turns. Yep, there's Gush restocking their hand. Fairy Miscreant, so this actually might just be fairies. There might not be a Delver involved. And let's just see if they have any removal. I am ready to go on to the next game, but we'll see if they can end up killing one of these or if we'll trade with the ninja. Okay, multiple ninjas. I should have activated Well-Wisher. Oh well, I wasn't planning on sticking this out. So I don't think that they actually have any hard removal. If they do, it's probably Firebolt. So 1 damage to each flyer. Finally going to do something here. Viridian Longbow, 1 damage to any target. Going to be fantastic here. Spider Silk Armor, Reach. Also Electrickery because they're red. Hydroblast, they did show us that they have red. We didn't see anything from red. It's probably not worth our time. As far as cuts, I like Well-Wisher. They seem to be more on a grindy blue build, so it's probably coming out. If it were Delver and they were trying to raise our life total, it would probably need to stay in. Lissalana is just a little bit slow. Distant Melody is going to be able to be countered and expensive and hard to cast. And then probably just a Nettle Sentinel. Blocking a ninja doesn't seem very productive. Alright, well, Pseudo Mana Dorks and Spider Silk Armor. We should be able to get this out before they can start doing their spell stutter sprite shenanigans. We just fell way too far behind. They had 3 turns in a row they could start countering, and then started picking up to have 3 mana counters. It's probably correct to mulligan to sideboard hate here, but we have a playable hand, and we actually do have a little bit of sideboard here. Yep, Fairy Miscreant. So I can Birch Lore, still be at 2 mana. That's going to require bouncing a land. No, it's not. So I want to get the 1-drop out before they can start spell stutter spriting. Oh, Priest getting dazed is going to be bad if they're on the daze plan. Seems like Mono Blue only runs 2 dazes, though. And Mono Blue is actually running the Form Fair Miscreants as well. Well, if you daze us, you daze us. I really don't want you to, but it's a possibility. Yep. There's the daze, which means next turn is Spider Silk Armor, probably Lissalana after that. I guess I could always have another daze. Alright, so correctly playing around daze. Return a forest. Tap for mana. Return a forest, we'll untap Birch Lore. Make our land drop. Elvish Mystic. And opponent's F6'd. So I don't want to do that yet. I'm just going to hard cast Spider Silk. And now we have reach blockers for their Fairy Miscreants. And I don't want to give them an opportunity to ninjutsu. They're going to have to remove one of our creatures first. It looks like Vapor Snag is the removal of choice. And thanks to our little friend Quirion Ranger here, we actually have 4 mana just off of these 3 cards. So we can list Alana and still hold up mana for days. And then after that, start chaining in to lead the Stampede. All of our tokens are going to be fantastic blockers. This game's going a little bit better. Although we are currently down a match. Alright, so tap. Return a forest, untap Elvish Mystic. Player land. 4 mana, Lissalana. Now we don't have enough to do anything productive. But that's fine. We have Lead the Stampede for next turn, and Spider Silk's going to make it so our creatures survive just about everything our opponent can do. Alright, and Birch Lore Rangers, again, this is going to be mana neutral, so just going to lead on that. Lissalana is such a good card. Birch Lore Rangers is such a good card. Now we're going to have chump blockers for days. Then turn a forest. We're going to untap Elvish Mystic. Player land. Lead the Stampede. Alright, well, that's a possibility. Unfortunately for opponent, though, oh, I can't do that, otherwise it could get dazed. Lissalana's threatening the most clock, and all these creatures have good utility for me at the current moment, so I don't necessarily want to get rid of them. The tokens will be doing most of the damage. It does look like my opponent possibly brought in Echoing Truth. I'm still not sure what the red in their deck is for. It's potentially for Electrickery. It's just such a good card in Modern. It snags all the Fairy Miscreants, all the Spellstutter Sprites. It snags all of my Elves. Scred. Alright. Deals damage equal to the number of snow permanents you control. It's 4. There's the Delver. They still can't do anything, though. Another Spider Silk Armor means that most of my creatures are going to do well. And we have a redundant Quirion Ranger, so despite being able to untap and get a lot of mana, I'm going to send the duplicate in. If they want to try to get rid of one with 3 creatures, it's fine. Taking out a fairy means that their Spellstutter Sprites aren't active anymore. In the meantime, though, planning on playing out this Llanowar Elves and untapping a couple of the attackers. Okay, so let's go ahead and untap you and return this. Now they're going to triple block the Ranger. I value my cards higher than their cards, so I'm going to take the counter spell first. And then I still have 3 blockers, so they won't be able to ninjutsu. Brainstorm is a little scary. Means I probably should have... I'm going to let this make contact. If they want a ninjutsu to deflip a Delver, I'm kind of okay with that. If they attack in with just the Delver, it's going to be the 2 mana dorks. I'm okay to see one go. No attacks. Alright. I'd like to be able to grow Elvish Vanguard the turn that I cast him. Plus, they're representing that they have something. They just brainstormed and saw 3 fresh cards, so I'm expecting Elvish Vanguard won't survive. He's eventually going to get big enough, it's going to be hard for them to answer. They're going to have to bounce it. And that's not even hard removal. If they do see an Echoing Truth, though, it means that all 3 of their creatures are getting in unblocked. Excuse me for a second, I have to set my mic down. Sorry about that. I am back. Okay, opponent's on Delver. Don't really care about that. It is annoying that Delver will be able to kill one of my blockers if they attack in with everything. And opponent still decides that they can't get in. Priest of Titania feels like pretty decent bait here. Yeah, we don't have much payoff for her. Ooh, it might have been correct to run out Vanguard and then Titania, but that would have tapped down a lot of things. Unfortunately, their cantrips are providing them better card quality than us. Alright, this might be where I want to run out Vanguard first. Yep, another Spell Stutter Sprite. They recognize he's going to be a problem. On the plus side, we have a lot of things that actually are very high impact. It just depends on how many counter spells they have. And casting face down is actually pretty legit here because that means it's going to come in as a 2-2. So it's going to be a 2-5 or a 2-4, which means Delver's not going to be able to do anything. And it looks like opponent's tanking for a second. That's probably my fault because I had to step away for a moment, but they let it go. Alright. So turning this face up costs green, and it will give us mana of any color. Yep. Do your Delver things. And they just have a hard counter spell. Alright, well. Can't imagine they want to use on Nettle Sentinel, but just have to run out my blockers. The 2/2s are especially valuable. Like I said, they can block the Insectile Aberrations pretty profitably. Unfortunately, with that counterspell, it means that we have to draw 2 of our outs. We have 3 Scattershot Archers and 1 of the Viridian Longbows. I'm going to hold this Forest. We've been running out everything, and it doesn't hurt to bluff. In like 2 or 3 turns, I'll just run this out unless we see another one. Then kind of just want to represent I have something in hand. I'm also pressing F2 so I can react to anything that our opponent does. So it kind of seems like we have interaction. Abundant Growth is fine. It's a redraw. Might have been a reason to attack in with Nettle Sentinel there. Pseudo-Vigilance. Sure, we want always yes, always yield. Yes to untap. There's our redraw. Timberwatch Elf. Okay, so Priest of Titania here is actually representing that we might have a second card in hand, which is why sometimes it's alright to... Seriously? All the Spell Stutter sprites. All of them. Alright. We'll next turn probably play in the land. Unfortunately, just not seeing much action, and opponent definitely has counter spells. These spell starter sprites are doing work. Alright, well there's a land. Not attacking in again. Lissalana would have done some work if they didn't have Scred. I'm not overly confident that they have Electrickery anymore. They have a lot of red cards considering the number of mountains that they've showed us, but it's always possible. Unfortunately, if we see any of our card draw spells, we know that there's a counter spell with their name on them. And now we're drawing all the lands. Our Spider Elves are putting up a wall. Yep, and now opponent's drawing 2 more cards. And we're seeing more lands. Alright, it's starting to hit a point it feels like we need to move on. Our opponent's at parity, but they have 5 cards in hand and we have a land. We know they have a counterspell. We do have some very, very good hosers. If we can land one of our Scattershot archers, we are just so far ahead, but they're cantripping, filtering, card quality's going up, card quantity's going up. Opponent's seen 10 more cards than us, and 5 of them are in hand. Plus they've hit multiple land drops. And alright, so that's pretty good. I'm willing to give this until we see a second piece of interaction and they both get countered, and then we can just move along. Because at some point our opponent's actually going to get the read that they have to attack in. We're currently down a game, so our time is more important than theirs. Yep, there's Gush. They can make their land drop for turn. They've probably got another Miscreant, although they wouldn't want to run it out yet because they'd have to discard a hand size. So probably just a Bolt or Scred. This is just card quality, it's not advantage. Augur of Bolus. Again, card parity. There's the Electrickery. Alright, so all of our creatures currently have 1 damage essentially marked on them. They have a counterspell in hand. Discarding Ninja. Alright, well, Quirion Ranger can come down. Still at creature parity. Alright, and they're doing all this before land drops, which means they probably have 7 quality cards in hand. They're going to cantrip like crazy here, and we actually might mill. Maybe it's not worth scooping just because we might mill. If they continue cantripping, they're not going to get through our board. And they're also hitting a point they might need to counterspell that. This is one of those few moments where it's actually good to keep a land in hand for a couple of turns because it does set the allure that you have something decent in there. And then if you empty your hand and then hold another land, you can just bluff more action. Going after Priest. Are they actually concerned about the amount of mana we can make? I'm assuming they're just going to start bolting creatures here. Because they have to start getting in. If they don't start getting in, they're not going to be able to close this game. We have 3 creatures capable of blocking Delver. Alright. Another must counter card. Yep, there's the counter spell. Was that the revealed one? Probably. Scattershot? More counter spells. And it's a spell stutter. Lovely. Alright. So, opponent's probably got a couple of ninjas in hand. They officially passed us on the creature count here. They double stack that spell stutter. I'm not exactly sure why. So they can attack in with everything, lose a ton of creatures. We have to keep in mind that they have Electrickery. But we're going to have some pretty profitable locks here. So 2-4. I'd prefer to keep this 2-4. The Nile Sentinel can go away. I want to take out as many of the fairies as possible, which means Augur gets in, and they'll also draw them cards when they recast it. So they're going to draw 2 cards here, go to 14. We're going to lose Nile Sentinel and one of our morph creatures. Yep, there's the ninjutsu. There's the Electrickery. Do you have another Electrickery? You do. Alright, well that leaves you with a ninja and me with a morph creature. I don't think you're going to have enough clock to kill me, but I'm willing to play it out. Yep, and you had another counter spell, so they have 3 counter spells. It's good to know about. They're going to play Augur of Bolas. Oh, and Gush. I don't know what they could have here. Because they're going deep, and they have 3 damage on the table. They probably have another ninja. So they pick up Skred. Yep, I'm going to turn it up for fun. So it's you may draw a card. Okay, so if this is 4, we're on a 4-turn clock. And a land is terrible here. Let's see if they've got ninjutsu. So they did draw a card. They're not afraid of milling. If they counter this, we're done. Oh, they don't. Alright, well, it's a 1-4, and it's going to prevent a lot of damage here, so... What have you got? This league is feeling super slow. It's taking a while for the queues to go off. Alright, Harvest Fire, I'm good with that. We technically had 2 turns, but we were just falling way too far behind, and we would have to win another match after that. Opponent revealed their hand. How do I go back to that? Turn to game. Augur, Counterspell, Bolt, Bolt. Yeah. I assumed you had an opponent. You just weren't doing anything. But elves are doing elves things. Delver saw more cards. They were able to keep us in check for a little while. We just draw the wrong half of our deck. We got slowed down again by our lands. Our Quirion Ranger helped quite a bit. Yeah, untapping our land and bouncing it. We were able to make a couple of land drops, but everything we were casting was fairly low CMC, so all the spell stutters kept getting us. They were just able to remove our core creatures, and we didn't see any of our card advantage engines. We saw two lead the Stampedes, but both got spell quellered of everything. Like, we probably needed a mulligan and just stronger hate there. Opponent was able to draw like their entire deck. Like, milling them was our win condition, and they still weren't able to interact with our double spider silk armor, though. Like, it does show the power of what that card can do. But let's go into the last game of the league. Like I was saying, though, this video is a little bit slower. This is Legacy Light. If you like the level of interaction that you're seeing in Pauper, Legacy steps it up. You have some pretty powerful cards in Pauper, and some of them are older and like art designed again. Like, this is a common, but it's a very, very powerful card. So you can bump this deck up with Guy's Cradles and Crater Hoofs and actually have a really fun deck. And I'm a huge advocate of Legacy. I've been doing a lot of modern videos, but Legacy is probably my favorite format. It just has some of the most interactive and fun games around. There is the concept of losing to Reanimator on turn 1. It's very possible. Charbelcher's a deck, but for every game you have like that, you also have one of the most fun interactive games of Magic that you can really get. So I'm just a huge advocate of it. Like, I highly recommend everybody try Legacy. It's expensive in paper. It's fairly cheap online, but okay, I think I'm on. Let's see. So Priest of Titania is going to give us a lot of mana. Elvish Vanguard can grow. I think I'm on Vanguard Llanowar Elves here. It's possible that they have Days hardcast. Oh, they're on Impulse. All right. Well, I should probably be trying to figure out what their deck is. It took me too long to figure out what Delver was doing. Apparently doing Tron things, though. I'm assuming that this is actually the first list I looked for Tron in round 2. Alright, so tap, tap, untap, bounce, land. I really want to see Lissalana here. Lissalana will get around Days. Oh, Essence Scatter. Sad Panda. Alright, well, that'll give us our blue. And a Well-Wisher. Alright. Oh, that shuts off our Quirion Ranger. Oh well. We have a lot of mana. I was sure she was going to resolve. Alright, let's go back to this, though. Let's figure out what they're actually playing. I could have read that Essence Scatter if I knew the meta. Pauper, 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 Pauper. Alright, they're going to have Tron. So, Timberwatch and Priest is probably what we want to do here. I'm more concerned with Priest resolving. Always yield. Untap you, bounce that. And we'll see. I think that they're probably on Crusher like the first Tron list. which means we might actually just be posing lethal on the backswing. So we're going to hit 2 creature drops next turn, and that's going to be +8/+8. At the very least, we can threaten killing the Crusher if they play Crusher. Alright, so Artifact Tron. Nope, alright. They are on Tron, though. So, Rainbow Tron? Yep, Rainbow Tron. Alright, Condescend, Seagate Oracle. Condescend for counter spells, Moment of Peace, Fog, Prohibit, Counter, Capsize, Bounce. Draw 3. A lot of cantrips to get the right cards. Mystical Teachings to tutor. There's the Remote Isle that we saw. Cycles. So they are probably on Circle of Protection green, at least on Fog. Serrated Arrows will be able to hit our elves, and then they'll bounce it and replay Serrated Elves. Skips combat phase, Mole Drifter. Alright, so opponent's just going to try to take a lot of turns. That's probably making me want Spider Silk Armor. Just make it sure that they can survive the Serrated Arrows and go wide. A little inclined to do this. So they have Expedition Map and Prism, and that's about it. So there's no reason for that. Regenerate won't work against counterspells or against Serrated Arrows. As far as cuts, they have a lot of counterspells, so trimming the high end has just been what I've been doing. It's likely not right, but Elves has been putting in work. I think we just need to race as fast as possible. This is ramp and a big thing. And card draw, exactly what I wanted to see. So next turn can be land, 2/2 drops. Oh yeah, that's fun. I was trying to figure out how to work around our mana best anyway, and that actually just resets it, so. Alright, so cast. Cast. Make the green. Mr. Llanowar Elves. And chip it on back. The next turn is going to be Lissalana followed by Sylvan Ranger with our land drop and leave open Lead the Stampede. Or opponent's definitely representing counterspell. So I'm more concerned about Lissalana resolving than Lead the Stampede. That's probably not correct. But our opponent's showing us Condescend, and we can actually pay for 2 for Condescend, so yeah, this just feels right. And we hit 5. Oh, Elves, I love you. You're such a good creature deck. So sequencing here was the ones that actually tap for mana, then Redundant Piece, and then, yeah, I don't want to put anything else out there, so we'll see what opponent's got. Opponent's doing Forbidden Alchemy. Unfortunately, we have 6 creatures on the table, but it's only 6 damage. So Timberwatch next turn will be fantastic when it gets countered because they have 1 blue mana. Ooh, they're putting out a Crusher this turn. Alright, so we have 4, 5, 7. Okay, so I think that means we can list Alana into Timberwatch into Sylvan Ranger. Okay. They left blue up. What does blue represent? Nothing. So our opponent might be on blanks here. All right, well, Lissalana, you're up. Awesome. Okay, so then Timberwatch is probably most important. Then we have 2, 3. So we can Timberwatch into Well-Wisher, into Sylvan Ranger, into Abundant Growth. I guess it doesn't work that way. We'd have to Sylvan Ranger first, but that's fine. So this should be mana neutral. We haven't made a land drop yet. And I do want to get my blue source. Yeah, I guess we actually only have Well-Wisher here, so... And then Abundant Growth. Well, unfortunately we didn't get that, but I don't think that they can kill it. I think that most they can bounce it. And sequencing there might have been we want to draw that first just in case, but we'll see if we get punished. We committed all in here, and it should pay off. We have lethal for next turn. Which means they need to be on Moment's Peace in order to survive, and they don't have green. They do have a counterspell, though. Alright, I can't rebuild very well if I attack all out, but I only need 4 creatures to get in, so I'm going to send in the 4 least important. May as well make it 5. They're going to block the 2 real creatures more than likely. Yeah, maybe should have done combat math first. So that's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So yeah, I should have done combat math first, but it's fine. Yep, 1 mana repeal is fine. We lose 2 creatures, doesn't really mean that much. Then I want to get down Spider Silk first, just in case. We'll have reach. And then these guys can be a second Timberwatch, which means they need to have a lot. Then green, green, green. Lead the Stampede. We can't play anything, but we get to put 5 cards in hand. I love this card. Love you, Lead the Stampede. You're my everything. And it's on opponent again. So 2 Lead the Stampedes have been draw 10. Our opponent's been doing blue things, Muldriftering, Seagate Oracling, Repealing, Impulsing, and we've seen more cards than them. Oh, Elves. You're a fun deck. I wish you would have had a better showing against Delver. I know Delver is a very common deck, and we have a lot of hate pieces for it in the sideboard. Yep, there's a game, and we cashed out. So, Pauper Elves. This should come as no surprise to anybody. It is a very real deck. It does very real things. We played most of the decks that are currently in this sheet. We played Mono Blue Delver, Rainbow Tron, Artifact Tron. We didn't play Inside Out combo, but it looks like that's not much of the meta. We did play that green-black growth spiral list, it does look like it's a new tweak on the old mystical teachings deck. It's basically just trying to buy back and do things a lot. And then we also played against Dredge, which also didn't appear in this list, but again, they might just be older decks and they might not currently be in meta. I don't even think they have Pauper on here, do they? Hello, Pauper. But Elves did real things. We drew 10 cards against blue decks. Like, that was just in the last game. Bluetron doesn't, like, Elves don't care. Elves beat Honey Badger. They don't care. Yeah, so there's the dimmer control. We played Sultai, but that's just because of the growth spiral. And then I know that Dredge used to be a thing, but it looks like it's not anymore. It might be under other. Regardless, though, Elves did elf things. Yep, not in there. So lots of mana dorks, lots of card draw. You run 13 lands. It's a little bit on the light side, but when you have 9 mana dorks, it's basically like 22 lands. You just need to see a single land to get it started. We struggled a little bit because of Delver, against Delver because of that, but we still hit our mana drops. We still did everything that we need to. I don't believe this is a tuned list. I basically just gathered a couple of the more recent ones and said, let's try it. I really like Nettle Sentinel. I know a lot of hardcore Elves players, like, I think Reed Duke actually might be pro Nettle Sentinel, but I know Jeff Hooglin doesn't like it. He says it's the worst card in the modern deck. It's usually the first thing they like to cut. It does get you a lot of mana when you're chaining off, though, and once you start chaining off, it's really good to get that mana. As we saw in that last game, I actually could have started casting all the 5 cards off of Lead the Stampede if I would have just started off with a Nettle Sentinel, because I'd be netting 3 creatures to tap. All my 1 mana things are netting a half mana. And we just go and do explodey things. One of the very good things about Elves and Pauper is there's no Wrath of God. There's no damnation. You end up seeing those janky red things like Electrickery and Rolling Thunder. I think it was Rolling Thunder, where they have to pay X, and X is going to be split as they decide to split it. That took out like 3 of our Elves, and we were already comboing off, and so we ended up just killing them next turn anyway. Electrickery does hit us very hard, though. That's part of the reason why the Spider Silk Armor is $5, is because it's one of the rarer cards on MTGO, and it's necessary for this deck. But it does really fun things, and for $16 you can pick it up. Pauper's Legacy Light. If you've probably watched this video, you're probably a fan of Pauper, and this is all nothing new to you. I enjoyed the deck, though. Blue fixing is a little difficult. It seems like my aura, the abundant growth, is a little out of meta. You have to target a land, it cantrips and replaces itself. It lets you cast for any color, but only having 1 island to grab off of the Sylvan Rangers is a little rough, especially because it looks like Nulis are running 2 Sylvan Rangers. But very powerful things. Slissalana's triggers are just fantastic. Melody drawing anywhere between 3 to 15 cards is just so backbreaking when a lot of this format's blue. I really like Pauper Elves, though. Cashed out, did what it was supposed to. And I'd definitely play it again. It's just a little hard for me to get into Pauper. The queues do seem a little slower. A lot of the combo decks seem a little half put together. One of the best things out there is the Mnemonic Wall, Ghostly Flicker. We played that game for 20 minutes for one game, and our opponent never scooped it up, and they never had a chance to win. I don't mean anything derogatory towards that opponent. That's what their deck does. It's just you need to have a stronger win condition. And I, as your opponent, don't necessarily enjoy playing against that. I've made a lot of prison videos, so I really have no room to say anything about that. But yeah, I mean, Elves doing Elves things. Fog, the Spore Frog is hard. Moment of Peace is hard. A lot of Fog extra combat steps. The Harsh Substance in the sideboard is very hard to cast, but it's because those creatures typically can't deal with yours, so you get critical mass and you just ping them for 20 in the face and end the game. It's a little hard to cast. That's new tech. I'm not sure how I feel about it, but it does look like there's a lot of fog running around. But yeah, highly endorse, and thanks for watching.